Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends at the Maryland Jockey Club. Big day in Maryland racing. You're going to hear about the 2 graded stakes in a little bit, 4 other stakes races, and some key promotional stuff you need to know about, including the $10,000 hit and split promotion. The simple explanation is that anyone who registers for this promotion through First Bet or Express Bet and hits the bets involved will win an equal share of this pot, this $10,000 pot. For example, if it's a $2,000 split and 25 people make a winning bet, each one gets 80 extra bucks. Not a bad little rebate for you. There are going to be multiple splits on this day, adding up to $10,000, including $2,000 in the early pick 4, $2,000 in the late pick 5, $4,000 in the late pick 4, $1,000 exacta pot to be split on the Barbara Fritchie, which we cover later on the show, and 1,000 exacta split on the General George as well. We can send you to the link to learn more. We actually created a pretty link. If you just go to inthemoneypodcast.com/MJC, you can get all the details. That's inthemoneypodcast.com/MJC. Check out this $10,000 hit and split bonus. Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for Friday, February 19th, recording the day before. We got a lot of fun stuff to chat about on this edition of the show. A little bit later on, going to be getting into the golden hour bets. We've got the return of the JRA. We'll be chatting about that a little bit later. An exciting announcement about contests as well for the Ultimate Betting Challenge. But we're going to kick things off with 2 network regulars. You know them from their own shows, from their work on television. We're going to bring them in now for the graded stakes roundup. We'll start off with the special guest joining us from on location at Laurel Park, one of their big days of the year this Saturday. And we're so happy to have with us Naomi Tucker, Eclipse Award winner Naomi Tucker. Naomi, how are things?
Things are great. I mean, like you can see, I'm down here in the grandstands, one of my favorite places to sit. If I'm early enough, I can still see a couple of horses train. But yeah, so far so good. Big day coming up tomorrow. Of course, the graded stakes event, General George, as well as Barbara Fritchie. And we got quite a story in the General George. Of course, I'll fill you guys in on all of that.
Excellent. We'll be talking about that along with the man who usually does the graded stakes roundup, as we've been calling it here in 2022 on these late week players podcast shows from his own eponymous podcast and NBC, as well as many other places. He is TV's Matt Bernier. Matt, what's up?
Hey, man, looking forward to chopping up these couple races down in Maryland, getting Naomi's thoughts, because I think they're pretty interesting races. You know, you've got some heavy favorites, but I think you can poke some holes, perhaps. And then, obviously, those 2 big races down at the fairgrounds tomorrow. I think it's going to be a really fun weekend of racing, and hopefully we get a little bit more clarity as far as the Oaks and Derby pictures are concerned as well.
We will start off right at Laurel Park, where Naomi sits right now. 4:14 Eastern is the scheduled post time for the Grade 3 Barbara Fritchie, 4-year-old fillies and mares, and up, going 7 furlongs on the dirt. Naomi, why don't we bring you in first for sort of your overview and thoughts on this year's Barbara Fritchie?
Yeah, I actually think it's a great renewal. So many kind of ways to go in here. Definitely some value to be found, I think. I mean, my first kind of, I kind of pricked my ears seeing the fact that Glass Ceiling is coming over here. She's never ran at Laurel Park before for Charlton Baker. She did very well at 3 other than up in Aqueduct. Has won a stakes race before that as well. Just an out and out tough campaigner that fits very well within this group, especially coming in such terrific fitness. And then you, of course, have to look at Jakarta for trainer Michael Trombetta, who has traveled a fair bit. Now, I did see her in the stable the other day here. She's very relaxed. And Michael, as well as his assistant trainer, Tana, were saying that nothing really phases her. So that's very good to hear that they don't believe it would have taken that much out of her, which, of course, from a betting point of view, might be the worry. So definitely a couple of sort of big names in here that you want to have a look at.
All right, we're going to come back to you, Naomi, for your selections, your official selections on the race. But first, we'll bring it up to Matt, who's already indicated he might have something a little clever for us in here.
Yeah, I mean, Jakarta, I think, is probably the speed from the outside. I think you break and just try to go to the front, kind of what they were trying to do in that inside information down at Gulfstream last out. Didn't quite work, but I think this is a bit of an easier field for her to have to deal with. I think she's going to be too short, as Naomi was kind of alluding to. I think she's going to get bet in this spot. And glass ceiling, I don't have any knocks other than maybe a little bit pace compromised and figures to be close to odds on. I think she makes all the sense in the world. I don't need to get stuck in at a really short price. I'm curious, both of your thoughts on the inside filly. Field Desprit. I assume I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you. Go with the person that works down there. She knows these horses. The most recent run completely draw a line through it. She effectively refused. She spotted the field 10 lengths out of the gate, and then she came in with a big run and flattened out down the lane. Don't hold that against her. The 7/8 race back in October, I'm not holding against her. It was the first off a very lengthy layoff. Between that, you've got two pretty solid efforts, especially the 1-2 starts back. I know it was at 5.5 furlongs, but I thought she looked really good in that spot. And 7/8, maybe that's a bit of an unknown, but I like that she can be close to the pace without being dependent on having it. And I think you're going to get a fair price. She's 6-1 on the line. I made her 9-2, so I'm going to go with the inside filly.
I get it. I can see why you're excusing the last run. And I don't know, in my whole time using Timeform US in the 10 years that it's been around or so, where you look at, they have the little trainer form thing, and you see a trainer listed as hot, overperforming in every single category that's relevant to today's race. I think she's usable on that basis alone. And I definitely, I understand the case. I don't, typically rail at 7 furlongs, not the greatest thing, but the new Laurel track isn't the old Laurel track as far as that goes. It does seem like the inside's been playing better. So I have not who I came up with, Matt, but I definitely see where you're going with that. Did you have any you wanted to mention to go with her?
I mean, I think the two, kind of formful runners that we already chatted about, Glass Ceiling and Jakarta, they to me are the most likely winners. I think from a tactical standpoint, Jakarta should have the upper hand because she's going to get the jump, presumably. But basically the idea was the two logical choices with perhaps this bit of a price. And I say price, tongue in cheek. She's not going to be 15-1. But if you get something close to that morning line, I think that's fair.
I have one to throw in there at a price potentially as well before we get to Naomi's thoughts to button us up. I'm intrigued by Bold Connection, the 6 in this spot. And there's a few different angles at play. One, I don't fully trust Jakarta, and I think Bold Connection is going to be able to get first run. I don't think there is a ton of speed, as Matt alluded to here, and I could see Bold Connection tripping out. And the other angle, or one of the other two angles I'll mention, is that I think that last figure for Bold Connection could be a little low. Now, a lot of them, not a lot of runners have come back out of that race, but 3 have. One got caught in a pace duel and faded. But the other 2, who were far back in that field, both improved their figures by about 20 points. If that Bold Connection figure is a little low, maybe she's ready to step up and tackle this level of competition. And then the third angle, I'll hat tip to our old colleague, DRF's Dan Illman, always an excellent resource for all things when it comes to handicapping. But he had some quotes from John Service that I thought were very, very interesting, indicating that the regular work rider thought the last work was her best yet, and offering his own opinion, Service's own opinion, that she's ultimately going to be best at a 1-turn mile and that the 7 furlongs should suit. So hopefully at a price, I'm interested in getting Bold Connection in the mix. But to button it up, Naomi, we'll bring you in for your official thoughts, official selections on the Barbara Fritchie.
See, I'm unfortunately gonna go with a bit of a shorter price. I would go with Jakarta on top in here. I like that outside draw for her. Unfortunately for Matt, I really don't like the inside draw, especially not for a filly like Fille d'Esprit, who has speed. And I know Xavier Perez is going to be very, very aggressive on her. They tend to break a little bit inwards. There is some space between the gates and the rail, and we've seen it time and time again. Perhaps sometimes a bit of a camera angle as well, but it is something that sometimes they lose a length over, and that could be enough to not get the victory in this spot because they all seem quite evenly matched. I like Jakarta from the outside. I remember talking with Michael Trombetta. He asked the connections of Just One Time, the Brad Cox horse who stepped up from, I think it was like a Penn National run to then win the Grade 2 Inside Information. He said he was asking them if they were going here because he didn't want to have to, butt heads with them again. So, she's not here. I feel Jakarta is kind of the class in the field dropping out of that grade 2 coming into this place. But in terms of a bit of a price pay underneath, I think Kaylosaurus is very interesting, the number 3 for Tim Kreiser. I think there's going to be enough pace for her to target. You can see that one of her best performances 2 starts back in the Willa on the Move was when they were going fast. I feel like there's definitely a couple in here that want to move forward, including Jakarta, who I just mentioned. So I think she's quite interesting in this spot. But Pete, I like your pickup on the number 6 Bold Confection. I didn't use her, but now I'm going to look at her again.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I'm giving. Sometimes I take these notes a couple of days in advance, and I don't go back and fix. I think I called poor Bold Confection Bold Connection. So thank you for the fix on that one. Let's move on to our other graded stakes action at Laurel, the Grade 3 General George, 7 furlongs on the dirt for this one. Once again, I'll chime in quickly before we get it to you two. I like the idea that the 3 Shack Queen King can reverse form with Cordmaker in the spot. I would imagine Cordmaker is going to be your heavy fave, but this is a sharper test than in their previous couple of meetings. And when you look at their pace figures, Cordmaker appears to need that added ground to get to the best numbers, and Shack is a little bit better, going a little shorter. Shack Queen King has abundant finish at this distance, and just looking at a pace map of where they should sit in here, I don't think it's going to be too far back. It should be a significantly better price. I like the 3, and I was going to use a little bit of a pace angle to include the 4 Sir Alfred James as well. You can tell us what's been going on weather-wise down there, but I'm hoping for Sir Alfred James, this is a chance to get back on dry dirt for the first time in a while, and that figure the last time the 4 Sir Alfred James was on dry dirt, it's competitive with this group. Lack of early foot in this spot. I think they're going to dead send and prove best of speed at least. I like it 3-4. I respect Cordmaker, but at the price, I'm going to try to knock out of the top slot at least. Naomi, let's throw it back to you.
See, I would love for Cordmaker to get that first ever graded stakes win on board. That's the story I was talking about. Veteran campaigner seems to only get better with age. Won the Robert T. Manfuso, his breeders stakes 2 starts ago. That was his sharpest effort today. I agree with you. They are worried about the distance. Trainer Rodney Jenkins is, so is Victor Carrasco. They both said if we are within reach, he's going to get the job done. But it is on the sharper side for him. So from like a standpoint of a story and rooting for him, I want Cordmaker to get it. I actually like the horse on the outside, Air Token, a fair bit here at 9-2 morning line for trainer Jose Corrales. He can kind of run any distance. He's one going longer. He's one sprinting. I feel like this 7 furlongs can really, really suit him well. I like the outside draw. You might see it's a little bit of a theme for me here. If you have some tactical ability, you have a higher outside draw, plenty of time before that home turn to get yourself into position. And JD Acosta is just a very aggressive rider that knows this horse so well. So the more I look at it, the more I kind of like Air Token in here. But I want Cordmaker to get that first graded stakes victory. And I feel like he's found a field that is bestable. I wouldn't say this is the sharpest of fields for a graded stakes level. So I feel like it is possible for him to get it in here.
I feel like there'll be a lot of 7 and 2s on your tickets, Naomi, in this General George. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Matt, how do you see the General George?
You know, for all the things you guys mentioned about Cordmaker, I agree with all of it, that this is probably just a hair on the sharp side. Even his 1-turn miles recently, you see that they're not quite as impressive as his 2-turn races. I think he's a true router when it all is said and done. I'm with Naomi. I think Air Token is really live in this spot on the outside. You know, that most recent start at 6, Baracho, the second place finisher, came back and won next out with a 95 buyer. Flatters that form very well. I'm not suggesting Air Token's going to run a 105 on Saturday, but you know, the idea that the form is holding up quite well. And although he's 0 for 4 lifetime at 7/8, I think he can kind of poke holes in that. I mean, he has crossed the wire first at 7/8. He was DQ'd from purse money. 3 starts back, there was no pace, and he just missed getting up in the shadow of the wire. Draw a line through the Charlestown Classic. You know, that's a mile and an eighth. I understand that, but that's 3 turns. He also went 2 turns, 7/8 at Charlestown. Draw a line through that. I just think this horse makes a lot of sense in here. And to Naomi's point, I like that he's not going to be trying to rally with Cordmaker. He's going to have the jump on him. And if that distance for Cordmaker is just a little bit on the sharp side, Air Token, if anything, I think it's probably his ideal distance. I think 6 he's capable at, but I think he probably wants a little bit more. I think he's going to be the right kind of price. I made him 3-1. He's 9-2 on the line, but I like Air Token quite a bit.
Okay, there you have the two graded stakes from Laurel. Graded stakes action at the fairgrounds as well. We'll talk about the races with the Oaks and Derby implications. Naomi, did you have a chance to look at these? Can you hang around with us?
I did. I did have a quick look at them. They're very, very tough. Actually, really, in terms of betting, definitely a few opportunities in there.
Well, let's start off with race 12, the Rachel Alexandra for these 3-year-old fillies going a mile and a 16th. I'm on record as being a huge fan of Hidden Connection. No secret that we hear it in the Money Media, good friends with Jake Ballas and Matt Miller. They've been clients in the past. But all that aside, I think Hidden Connection, the 11, is a very, very interesting horse and likely winner in this race. And it comes back to two ideas. Basically, forgiving the Breeders' Cup for the trip, which I thought was very tricky right from the get-go, not breaking well, getting up in between horses. You go back to the previous run, which I know was the opposite, a perfect trip, but just looking at the figure she earned in her good races last year, if you build in the speed points for age angle, I think she just makes a lot of sense in here. She's been working forwardly, and I think she can get the right kind of stalk and pounce trip in this spot. I'm very interested in Hidden Connection. Matt, who did you land on in the Rachel Alexandra?
Well, I was going to be, curious to hear what you guys had to say because I had a really hard time with this race. Hidden Connection, admittedly, the outside draw and the fact that she had a candy trip in the Pocahontas. And then, yeah, she stumbled badly out of the gate in the Breeders' Cup. Maybe it wasn't the most comfortable position, but I didn't think she really did any running. I think she's a likely winner, but in a race that's so wide open, I just can't possibly back somebody that's going to be in that 3-1, maybe even shorter range because of all, sort of the backing that she has. The problem is outside of that, I feel like I can make a case for 7 or 8 horses. And from a selection standpoint,
I'm agreeing with Matt, by the way.
Yeah, from a selection standpoint, it's not an ideal position to be in. But from a gambling standpoint, I think you're going to find at least 2 or 3 that maybe hit whatever your benchmark is for fair odds. Lacrette, I'm not blown away by her figs, but she's looked really good in her races. North County, the race that she comes out of that untappable has been a little bit suspect. I don't know if it's going to quite stack up against some of these other fillies. Dream Lith, she was really nice as a 2-year-old. She gets a little bit of pace. I could see her rallying down the center of the track. Divine Huntress is the one that I'm having the hardest time deciding what I want to do. It's either am I all in on her, or is the reality of going from Parks against far inferior to taking on, not just stakes caliber fillies, but potentially some Oaks caliber fillies. Is that too much for her? I think it is a large vote of confidence that they're even taking a shot here, though. She's looked fantastic in the 2 runs at Parks. I have no idea what you want to do with the form. And beyond that, Turner Loose was one that I just kept going back to saying she's going to the front. There's no way that they are going to just take back with her. I have no idea if she can take to the dirt, but I appreciate they're going to find out if she's a dirt horse early on. This is the time to do it. If for whatever reason she can't stand up on it, fine. We regroup, we go back to the grass, and she'll be fine. If she can, she's got a tactical advantage in a race that, yeah, there's some speed, but I don't know if they're going to be just going guns blazing early. I thought Turner Loose was intriguing, and I'm a fan of Awake at Midnight, but I'm not totally convinced she's a router. I think she may be more of a one-turn type. Long-winded way of saying I don't really have a strong opinion. I think it's a fantastic race. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the whole thing plays out.
And, of course, in real life for your real betting, this is a great betting race because you come up with, as you often do, an idea of the price that each of these runners should be. You bet the one or ones that are a bigger price than that. For strictly the purposes of the little notes that I send around, Matt, from what I'm hearing, I was tempted to put Turner Loose as your official for paper selection. But what would you, if I held your feet to the fire, what would you say?
I tell you what, put Divine Huntress on top, Turner Loose second, and then beyond that, your guess is as good as mine.
Naomi, any more clarity for you? You hinted you're in Matt's camp in terms of seeing it as an open race, but curious to see what you have in the way of a selection for us. And
I
your
kept
analysis.
on looking at this race. This was very, very hard. I agree with Matt that you want to start looking for a little bit of value. I actually ended up landing on Awake at Midnight, 7-2 morning line. So kind of do have to kind of wait and see to see what we get. I'm going to go against Hidden Connection. I think you're either a big fan and you think she's going to bounce back and take that next step forward. Of course, moving quite strongly in the mornings at 12th of February work stood out. I'm going to try and find some other horses like Matt did. So I went with the Wake at Midnight. She kind of sat comfortably behind him in the Santa Ines, moved up into kind of a decent part of the race, 3 wide. Under the Stars was a heavy favorite. She had the jump on her, but Awake at Midnight was as game as could be. I thought she was hitting her stride quite nicely late. So I'm hoping, this is of course me guessing, that she will continue to improve with the added distance. Also had some interest in Dream Lift. Matt already mentioned her as well, the number 4 for trainer Robertina Diodoro. Very, very good as a 2-year-old. Can she take that next step? I think she has the right running style to do so and to get that and to continue doing well. Of course, she's already been proven over the distance. So you take that question out of the equation. So I ended up kind of keying around them two, then started looking at Hidden Connection. But I'd say the 9 and the 4 were my top selections in here. But like Matt said, there are so many ways that you can go. I think the question is who has taken that next step and who has improved the most. And we're going to find out in here.
You mentioned thinking the distance is a potential plus for Awake at Midnight. I
hope so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it's one of those things. She hasn't routed on dirt, but looking at the pedigree, Nyquist, a Union Rags Dam, it's logical. I was curious if you were basing that on the paper or something you saw in the replays or
yeah, the replay based on looking the way that she was running to the wire in that grade 2 Santa Ines at Santa Anita Park made me think that she can get that extra furlong in a bit.
That makes perfect sense to me. Let's talk about the 3-year-old Colts this time in the Risen Star Grade 2 Stakes, going 1 1/8 here. Field of 10 going postward, and a couple of really interesting form lines on display. The form of that Kentucky Jockey Club, that's working out incredibly well. 3 next out stakes winners from that one. Smile Happy, the winner, coming back in this spot. He's worked well, apparently, for the return to the races. I think he's going to get a good trip. Super interested in seeing what he has. And then the other form line, the one that I'm sort of banking is going to be important for the Kentucky Derby, is that of the Remsen. I'm forgiving the Modonegal run. He finished up so well, and he didn't break particularly well, and he didn't appear suited by Gulfstream, as we've discussed on the show. Zandon, of course, was the horse who was second in there, ran too well to lose, really. And the hands he's in with Chad Brown, I'm thinking this horse is bound to come forward. Those are the two that I'm going to be keying around mostly. Probably end up being at the top of the market, but I like it. I like the race 8-7, and I'm really excited to see how this one plays out because maybe I've been overrating those form lines. We're going to learn a lot more on Saturday, come about 7:05 Eastern time. Matt, let's bring you in. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is so far to this point anyway in the season, the most critical Derby prep because there's so many intertwined stories, so many horses that have run against other, in theory, favorites or contenders for the Kentucky Derby, and they're either going to flatter or sort of dispel a bit of that enthusiasm about some of them. I have no issue with any of the big names, but I said it to you, Pete, when we talked about the Lecomte. I'm willing to go out here again. I've already bet the horse because I live in a state where, unfortunately, I can't bet this track. So I've already gone ahead and got him at 5-1. I'm all in on Epicenter. I think he's the controlling speed. I get it. Slow down Andy's probably going to be applying some pressure from the outside, but I think Epicenter goes right to the front in here. I thought his Lecomte, all things considered, if you want to sit there and say the field that he ran against wasn't that good, I'm not going to argue with you. There's a chance that maybe that form ends up being a little bit subpar. He did all the running in there, and he was very unlucky not to win. I think he has a more advantageous pace setup here in this spot. He's not going to be hounded by some long shots in here, I don't think anyway. He's effectively paired up flyer tops and time form US numbers. I think he moves forward. I think he gets the job done. I'm all in on Epicenter.
The 1 1/8 could really help you in that other riders, other trainers, if they're questioning their horse's stamina, their ability to go 9 at this time of the year, you might not see the pace that I think many are expecting, or at least the time form US algorithm is expecting in the spot. That might allow Epicenter, clearly a big flow move up coming out of the Lecomte, to set more of an easy beat, and we'll see what kind of finish he has from there. But I do think that's an interesting idea. My first thought was to play it for horses coming from further back, but you make a compelling case. Naomi, let's bring you back in. Who is your idea of the winner of the Risen Star?
So I have to agree with Matt. Very uninspiring. I was all in on Epicenter. I think it's going to be the lone lead in here. I don't think he's going to receive as much pressure as he did in the Lecom. Like Matt said, he did so much work there, dug in deep to hold off Papacap, who sat in the perfect spot behind him, safe ground, to then get nabbed just before the wire. I thought he was the deserving winner. I think this sets up much better for him here. And like Matt said, with the mile and an eighth, there might be some others that don't want to be asking their horses too much early because they're not too sure if they're going to stay the distance. So I'm taking Epicenter, but I'm using Smile Happy in my exacta for trainer Kenny McPeak. So I feel I've got the speed of the speed who's going to stay and who's shown us he has an abundance of heart and gameness, and then Smile Happy to actually have a little bit of a lead of Epicenter and a good pace to run into. He closed into slow fractions in that Kentucky Jockey Club race. I think he's going to take that next step forward for trainer Kenny McPeak. So those were the two that certainly caught my attention that I'm going to kind of be centering everything around.
Makes sense to me. My one concern with Smile Happy, who I still am putting on top, and Matt, I'll ask you this. I am the slightest bit worried that this is a horse that's been relatively close to the paces in his two runs. And now looking at the time form pace map anyway, potential to be last of all of these, which sometimes worries me that if he runs more to the previous running style and is only a few lengths off, it could potentially take the starch out of the finish. That's my one little fear about Smile Happy. I think that Lannery will be able to give him the right kind of ride and be patient and move at the right time. Or maybe the pace will get back down, as we were discussing, if horses are worried about the mile and an eighth. But just curious what you think in terms of the type of trip Smile Happy is going to get in here.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is he took on, according to Timeform US, there was a fast pace in that career debut at Keeneland, and then a relatively tepid one in the Kentucky Jockey Club that he just basically parked himself 4 or 5 wide throughout and said, all right, I'm just better than everybody else. We'll go on with it. I think to me, that's a very positive sign that this is a horse that you're really not that the last thing you want to do is have the best horse and get them stopped in some sort of a silly trip where you're trying to save ground or this, that, or the other. If you think you're on the best horse, keep them in the clear and just let them run. I think they did that effectively in both of the starts. Even the Keeneland race, he was extremely wide on the far turn and he just drew off for fun. So I think he's probably similar to what we've seen, 2 to 3 lengths off of it. Going into that far turn, that's when Lannery starts knuckling on him. And if he is as good or better than what we saw last year, he's probably going to win the race. If we're being honest, I mean, the form has been flattered. Running wise, it looks like he actually gets better as the races get longer. I thought he was finishing fantastic at Churchill. Got a little goofy hop to his left lead at the end of the run, but he'd only run twice. I'm not going to hold that against him. I mean, he really is. He's kind of the key to the remainder of the Triple Crown prep season, in my opinion, because if for whatever reason he bombs on Saturday, well, then I think it's fairly wide open. And if he comes through with a similar performance to what we've seen in his first 2 lifetime starts, I think, in my opinion, I understand Messier earned that gaudy fig. In my opinion, Smile Happy would clearly be the horse to beat as far as the 3-year-olds are concerned.
If he wins by open lengths again, certainly I think that's the case. Before I let you guys get out of here, I do want to go back to Laurel for 1 minute just to give a little bit of an overview of the card, because in addition to the 2 grade 3s, there's a quartet of $100,000 stakes races on this card as well. Naomi, are there any particular races you're looking forward to seeing other than the big stakes races, or a horse that you're looking for? Just curious to get a couple more thoughts from you about this Laurel card on Saturday.
See, I'm a big fan of the straight 3-year-old stakes race because, of course, just turned 3-year-olds, see how they've been developing. Love the White Country coming up at race number 4. I think she's going to take a fair bit of money, but Luna Bell, I've been following her throughout her career. When she got that victory aboard in the extra heat, it was just a culmination of finally doing everything right. And then before, of course, the Juvenile Fillies Championship, but she's not been the easiest. She's quite a headstrong filly. I think she ran off with Horatio Carmanis before the start. I think it was the Maryland Million last year that happened. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly which race it was, but basically kind of left the race on the track before and still ran really, really well. She's a closer. She had a bit of trouble. And it really seems like she's finally started to put everything together, been really progressive for Hamilton Swift. So just happy to see her back again, and hopefully she can make it 3 in a row here.
Luna Bell, number 1 in race number 4, which is those 3-year-old fillies going in the Wide Country Stakes on Saturday. I imagine the atmosphere is building around there, Naomi. People must be excited. This is one of the days where Laurel gets paid attention to across the country.
Absolutely. I mean, this is our only day that feature graded stakes events. This was also 2 years ago, my first ever big stakes day working as a broadcaster. So holds kind of a special place in my heart. I remember being so nervous, and now I'm just super excited because we're going to see some top class action here, and especially the local horses. You know, those local stakes performers really stepping up. It's a lot of fun to be here. Normally, a lot of people come out. Let's hope the weather's not too bad. So far, so good. The sun's out here. I remember freezing 2 years ago. So let's hope that the weather stays okay. But it's such a big day and such a fun day that normally gets a big turnout.
We do think dry dirt will be in the mix, though, by Saturday afternoon, from what you're seeing.
I do believe so. So far, yeah, the track's looking very sharp.
Excellent. So for more from Naomi, you can check her out on the simulcast feed. Also, you post selections on your Twitter, which for those listening, as opposed to watching on YouTube, simply her name, at Naomi Tucker. Great stuff. Matt, what about you? What do you have going on this weekend? Where can folks find you? Any other thoughts you'll be putting out there in the world?
Yeah, I'll be writing up a little sort of preview of these races over on NBCSportsEdge.com. You can find that there. And then Sunday, I head out to Riyadh for Saudi Cup next week. And looking forward to getting out there. That should be a good time. It sounds like all the big players are already on ground. I saw some video rolling in of Mandaloon and Art Collector and some of the other big names. So looking forward to getting out there. And I believe, I apologize if I'm wrong, the undercard is FS2 and TVG, and then the big one is on FS1 next Saturday.
Okay, excellent. So. That's good. That's good stuff. Naomi, that's a meeting you've been to in the past. Do you'll be watching with interest?
I've actually never been to Saudi, been to Dubai plenty of times, but definitely watch it with interest. Hope to actually join you there, Matt, for the notes team. So really excited to make my first trip out there.
Oh, very, very cool. Well, we'll have to do something from the grounds with you two and Michelle and Tom Stanley, with whom we've worked over there, Nick as well. Who knows? We got to do something fun for the Saudi Cup, though. That much is for sure. Okay, Naomi Tucker, Matt Bernier, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you both very soon.
Sounds good, guys.
See you, Pete.
Today's show also brought to you in part by our friends from Santa Anita Park. A few things I want to let you know about regarding racing at Santa Anita this weekend. You're about to hear all about an exciting announcement regarding the big contest coming up on March 5th, which is the Ultimate Betting Challenge happening online at Gulfstream and at Santa Anita. You can also win into that with a special live money contest happening at Santa Anita and the online sites on Saturday, February 19th. There's also a mandatory Pick 6 payout on Sunday, February 20th, estimated pool of $5 million, assuming that carries all the way to Sunday, which it should. You can get free Equibase past performances, racing info, and expert analysis at santanita.com. And we're going to be helping you out as well. We're going to have our man JK dropping a special show about the Santa Anita Sunday Pick 6. This isn't going to be behind the paywall. This is going to be In the Money Plus preview that is free. So you can look for that as well if you follow In the Money on Twitter, In the Money Media, or you can find that also if you follow JK on Twitter at UT Big Hair. Maybe I'll even do a special post up on the blog, inthemoneypodcast.com. Anyway, we've got you covered. Don't forget, Sunday, big force out. Saturday, great contest opportunity. Now let's hear more about the Ultimate Betting Challenge. Next up, a non-handicapping segment, but something that I know horse players are going to be excited by. We've got an announcement about the upcoming Ultimate Betting Challenge, a contest that you can play at Santa Anita or at Gulfstream Park or online. And the man who has been really helming the contest ship over the last couple of seasons out there at Santa Anita. I've been pleased to have the opportunity to work with him and know him for several years around various tracks, but especially Santa Anita. His presence has also been seen at the National Horse Players Championship, helping out the NTRA. Tyler Frausto. Tyler, how are things?
Thank you for the introduction, Pete. Things are great, actually. I'm looking forward to a great weekend of racing coming up for us.
It's going to be a ton of fun, that's for sure. And it's really tip of the iceberg. This March 5th day, that is the day of the Ultimate Betting Challenge. This is a wagering day, unlike too many I can remember in the past. Tell folks what's going on.
So the Ultimate Betting Challenge is actually hosted on March 5th, which we're officially naming for Saturday. And what's great about the Ultimate Betting Challenge, we've had in the past, we've upped the stakes a little bit this year, but it mainly went to the bankroll. So it's really player friendly. And the Ultimate Betting Challenge only deserves one thing, but the ultimate prize. So what we're trying to do is give the prize to the winner a BCBC seat, an NHC seat, and a Pegasus seat. So along with cash. So if you win this one, you win your way to all the major tournaments of the year for the most part. And on top of that, we're seeding the pool with $25,000 provided by First. So it's a definitely player-friendly pool that you definitely need to get in on.
That's fantastic. And that's, essentially a big de facto takeout reduction. And, we're big fans of one-stop shopping in real life and in horse racing. So the idea to be able to pick up those 3 key seats and cash with money added to the pool, which really helps take that takeout out of play. That's fantastic stuff. And I know there's an opportunity this very weekend to qualify for the UBC. I want to hear about all the qualifying opportunities that folks have going, and give us an overview of the terms of the tournament as well. How much does it cost to play?
Sounds great. Yes, we have many opportunities, both on horse tourneys, which is also providing feeders in, and on ExpressBet. ExpressBet, we have different levels, lower level, mid-level to high level. Obviously, you can buy straight in, but this weekend, actually today, we have an $80 feeder that feeds into tomorrow's tournament on Saturday. On Saturday, we have a $500 tournament that feeds into the Ultimate Betting Challenge, along with some NHC seats. And Sunday as well, we have a new tournament style that we're testing out. I know it's new to us, not new to the players. Anything goes. So you can bet any sort of wager that you like, including the pick 6 at Santa Anita, which this Sunday is a mandatory payout. So if you want to increase your little player edge on that and potentially win some extra cash and prizes, it's definitely the play to go.
That's fantastic.
Also, I love that. You increase the player's edge just by providing a tournament like that. It's amazing. It's a trial stage, of course, and it's a $600 tournament. So that's $400 bankroll, $200 to the pool, and of course, the pool 100% paid out to players. And horse tourney, of course, offering qualifiers weekly, without a doubt, at different tracks for the features.
Couple of things I want to clarify, because of course there's the First Bet ADW and the Express Bet one. The qualifiers, this is for Express Bet. If you're a First Bet customer, do you have to switch over your account to play in the tournament? How does that work?
That's a great question, actually. So if you have a First Bet account, essentially you have an Express Bet account. The exact same credentials will get you into Express Bet that they will on First Bet. So you can switch back and forth between the interfaces. So if you do have a First Bet account and you want to play in the tournament, just feel free to try it out. Put your information into the ExpressBet login. Should get you right in. If not, our customer service team would be happy to assist anything that you need.
That's fantastic. And for folks that just want to buy into the UBC directly, how does the terms of that tournament work, and where can folks go?
Sure. You can go on ExpressBet. We'll be offering buy-ins on the Tuesday before, which I believe is the 1st of March. Currently, I have a landing page up on Santa Anita's website, which you can go to the full calendar and look at March 5th's events and click on that link right there. And it'll take you to a page in which you can purchase your entry straight away. And you can also disclose where you'll be playing at, because this tournament will be hosted at Santa Anita, at Gulfstream, and of course on ExpressBet as well.
Excellent. And the total buy-in again for it, and how does the allocation to prize pool work?
Correct. $3,500 is the total buy-in. $2,500 it goes to your bankroll, and $1,000 goes to the prize pool, which is already inflated with the $25,000. So at 125 entries, we're looking at about, I think, over, my calculations are correct, $55,000 worth of value to first place. So it's definitely something to get into.
Yeah, there's a lot of great prizes on offer. Something else fun that we haven't announced anywhere yet that we'll talk about now. We're going to be doing a live stream. I'm going to actually be at Gulfstream on the day. We'll be doing a live stream covering the heart of the tournament. I don't know if we'll be on for the whole thing, but this is a special day of racing. 15 graded stakes between Gulfstream and Santa Anita, a player-friendly, seeded contest. And if you're an In the Money media person, get a chance to watch me and Matt and hopefully some other members of the team covering the thing all day long. We encourage everybody to get involved. Go to santanita.com now. I'll create a pretty link so you can, we'll make it super easy for people to find. We'll tweet that out as well. really looking forward to participating in this year's UBC from a coverage standpoint, and really grateful to you, Tyler, for coming on here and giving us the scoop.
Thank you for having me. And I will be at Gulfstream as well. So anybody that's playing at Gulfstream will be seeing me, and I'll be seeing you there, PTF.
Oh, good stuff. I think we'll have to grab some sort of libation and toast one another. It'll be fun to be at the races together yet again.
That is much essential.
Next up in the show, very excited to talk about one of my favorite bets out there, the Golden Hour Pick 4 and the Golden Hour Double. And to do so, we're bringing back a return guest. He was on one of our NHC preview shows a few years ago. He's been on Redboard Rewind before, but really happy to get him on to talk about everything he's got cooking and these Golden Hour races, fresh off a big finish. And I do mean big finish at this year's NHC. Mike Somich at Somo Bombs 1-8. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I'm been a great start to the year on the horse racing side. I'm actually really excited about this Triple Crown series. I think we're wide open, so these prep races are a bunch of fun. You can get some big pools, and I think you can go price hunting in there. And then just excited to keep this tournament seed going. I can't wait to get out to Keeneland. I'm looking forward to being at Lone Star in May, and then I already got in the BC ticket punch, so that's nice as well.
So you went on this furious run on day 2 at the NHC. For those that don't know, I believe, were you literally on zero after day 1?
Yeah, my better entry was at $4.40, and my other entry was sitting at zero. So it was a rough Friday. Not gonna lie.
What I want to hear about your mental state. I mean, you hear stories about people who have flown home at that point. Hopefully, you will be the poster child to prevent people from doing that in the future. How did you get your mental state right and turn things around?
I gotta give credit to my wife, ironically. She came out to NHC with me. She no interest in horse racing, so she went out and got a massage on Friday. So I was spending money, well, not making any. And I came up in the room and I'm like, yeah, it's not going to be this year. And she's like, all right, well, let's go to dinner and get drunk. And that's what we did. We went out, had a great time on Friday night, just kind of set it aside and reset mentally and just said, look, you got 2 entries. Start swinging and get one horse home. You get one home, then you get some momentum and you can just kind of keep it going. And fortunately enough, second mandatory race, I had the horses that ran first and second at 22-1 and 19-1. And that got the momentum going for me. And then we were able to just stack up some 12-1 winners on top of each other and have an epic day too.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, it was an historic day. You rode it all the way to the final table, and it was definitely a lot of fun. And you got your Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat sorted out as well. That's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. That to me is the toughest one to get. I mean, you got these online feeders where you're trying to beat 76 people to be able to get it. And it costs $165 to get in, or you have these $500 tournaments where you're just playing against really the best tournament players out there, trying to get your seat that way. And you can go live as well. But to me, BCBC has always been the most difficult seat to get. So I was really happy to kind of just chalk that one up. And it was a lot of fun to be able to go. I went into the last race on Saturday. I was the only person with a play left in the top 10. So I kind of knew just pick a winner. I needed $4. So pick a winner and it's worth 20 grand. You're into Sunday and you also get that BCBC seat. And I think it's Scotty McKeever had a great video that he posted of basically the whole table rooting home the 4 horse at Golden Gate in the last. And fortunately it worked out pretty well. It was nice. Once that horse got a split, it was not a sweat. I knew that horse was home top of the lane.
That's excellent. Well, we'll talk about some of the other things you've got going on at the end of our visit here today. But right now, let's dive into this Golden Hour Pick 4, starting off with Santa Anita's 8th race, 7:13 Eastern on Saturday for these 4 and up Calbred allowance types going 6.5 on the dirt. Who did you come up with in here?
This race is an interesting one. I don't love chalking out in early sequences. And when I look at these pick 4s and the daily double, specifically for the Golden Hour, I take one of 2 approaches. Either I'm playing it skinny and I'm playing it multiple times, or I'm going to try and really spread out and find a couple prices here. This first race, I think you really got to focus on the 3 inside horses, Atomic Drop, Scary Fast Smile, and Pyeongchang. You really got to pick which one you think is going to get the lead. I think it's going to be Atomic Drop from the rail. I think Cedillo has to send. The last 2 at Del Mar weren't wonderful, but if you look at that stakes 2 back, I mean, None Above the Law, The Chosen Brawn, those are very, very good California horses. Look at 3 back when Atomic Drop broke its maiden here at Santa Anita, was able to go 21-4, 44-1, and absolutely open up on the field. I think Atomic Drop is the speed of the speed. So I'm going to use Atomic Drop. The other horse I have some interest in is the 4. This is a fun one. Escrolatoro, I think that's how we pronounce that one. That's the horse that can pick up the pieces. If we do end up with a 3-way duel up front, I think the 4 is able to sit right behind that wall of horses and wheel into the lane and get a run on the 1.
I could see that case if they do end up going hammer and tongs up there, a scenario I could see. I came up with Scary Fast Smile. I was thinking could just get the best trip, maybe just stalking that speed of Atomic Drop and hoping maybe Pyeongchang goes with, and it just trips out beautifully in a certain scenario. The barn change for Scary Fast Smile is just neutral, but I'm going to call this a positive rider change. And I know if our man, speaking of NHC and the final table, Scott Coles is listening out there in the audience, he's smiling because he and Tyler Bays crossed each other off the holiday card list many moons ago. But I do think that the Pratt could handle this horse just perfectly. And I don't mind at all in the Golden Hour pick 4 getting super skinny in the first couple legs with the thought, you know what? If it blows up, you just come back and you play that Golden Hour double or play those races individually. So I was going to stand alone with the 2. Sounds like you're going to go 1-4 to kick things off in this first leg with preference for the 1. Let's head up north to Golden Gate Fields for their 8th race, 7:30 the post time. We've got stakes action here for Calabrese, the El Dorado Shooter going 6 furlongs on the synthetic. I'll kick this one off. My opinion, not terribly creative, but I think that the 8 Better Trip Nick is going to get the best trip of all, on or near the lead. And I just don't see that there's a lot that can effectively match his early foot in this spot. And I like where this horse is condition-wise. A flow move up in the second start off the long layoff, and then you throw in the trainer as the final positive. As I often note on the Sky Sports broadcast when you're talking about Golden Gate, you rarely go wrong when you bet Wong. Give me the 8 in Golden Gate's 8th. How do you see it?
Yeah, a Better Trip Nick is definitely going to be on the lead, and it's going to be a real threat in here, right? I mean, clearly the fastest horse, like you said, Wong, great angle there, second off the layoff. If Better Trip Nick can improve or even run back to that 90 buyer in Golden Gate at April, he's going to be awfully tough. I'm going to take a little bit of a price. I'm going to go with the 3 horse here in our A, 7-2. To me, this is just getting back to the distance that we want to be running at. You look at the last 2, they were both mile races. The horse had the lead and faded late. Mile is just too long. We're cutting back here to 6 furlongs. The horse has run 6 times at this distance, 1 win, 4 seconds. Face some pretty good horses here, and you go back and you can find some of those running lines where In Our A was sitting a length or 2 right off the lead, has some tactical speed going 6 furlongs, and is able to pounce. I like the 7-2 price over the 2-1 price on the 8. So I ended up with In Our A just to try and get a little bit more of a price. I'm probably going to go with a pretty short ticket here and go 1 in the first leg and 3 in the second leg from a press perspective. And then I'm going to use the 3 and the 8 here on just my $1 ticket.
All right, I like the sound of that, and with that, we'll kick off the Golden Hour double by heading back down south to Santa Anita for their nightcap. Cool race here with the Pasadena Stakes. Trivia question that I didn't prep you for, and I wouldn't blame you at all if you don't know. But do you remember what horse won this race last year? Because he ended up having some significance catching. Your hint is he caught all kinds of money in the Kentucky Derby.
The horse that Rosario didn't break on, Rock Your World. There we go.
Very good. You got it. Pulled it in from the fire. Yes, Rock Your World won this last year, so it shows it can have an impact on the bigger picture. And we've got a full field of 11 going postward this time around. 1 mile on the turf with apparently some pace in the field. Very curious to get your thoughts on this one. What numbers will be on your Golden Hour tickets?
Yeah, this is probably the toughest race in the sequence. I think that the pace is going to be very interesting. A lot of people are going to point toward the 3 horse here. Crosby Beach is the pace. But last time was the pace at 1 mile and an eighth going 49-113. You're not getting away with 49-113 here. At Del Mar, when Ferning's second in maiden special weight, did go 23-46-4. That's probably more likely what you're going to see from a pace perspective. I'm not sure Crosby Beach wants to go that fast and still be able to get the job done. So I'm going to pass on the 3 horse here. I did put the 6 Sumter on top. Look, you mentioned Pratt last race. We were talking about Saratoga. This is a war front horse out of a more than ready mare. I have no issue stretching out from 5 furlongs to our 1 mile distance that we're going here today. And again, getting Pratt is obviously a big time upgrade. Love the fact that this horse was able to stalk sprinting, which means that we're going to be, you have that professionalism in a younger horse, which is something I often look for. And Mandel off the bench isn't so bad either. So I put the 6 on top here, but I did end up going 3 deep in this spot. Did you end up on the 6 Sumter as well?
I have the 6 as a co-A, and I think just being a half-baked wise guy made my technical second choice. But we'll be on every ticket for sure. Who were the others you wanted to go with Sumter?
I don't think you can. You gotta consider the 2-horse. Do it. What is it? Do it for Andrew here as a real threat. Look, D'Amato, very good first time North America, 26%. This horse has been working really well over the Santa Anita dirt, which I consider a plus. Has shown tactical speed sprinting overseas, which again is not something you often see. A lot of times these horses just get left first time in the U.S. I don't think Do It for Andrew is going to get left. I think Rispoli is actually going to sit a really nice trip for this horse. Love the fact that we've got back-to-back wins. I kind of like the 5-1 price here, and I think you might even get a little bit better that on race day because I think there is quite a bit in here. So Do It for Andrew was my second play, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a shot with the 4-horse Fast Draw Munnings at 12-1. This horse has been very respectable in Calbred stakes races the last 3 times out, including a win. Love the fact that we've won it 2 turns at Santa Anita. I like the fact we broke our maiden at Los Alamitos. I often talk about how Los Alamitos to me is almost more of a turf course than a dirt course just because of how that racetrack plays. And generally horses with good turf pedigree handle Los Alamitos well. I also love Munning's first time turf. If it were a turf sprint, I'd probably like this horse even more. But I think you're going to see Fast Draw Munnings be able to kind of sit behind the pace. And I think there is quite a bit of it here and make one big run. And I love that 12-1 price.
Yeah, we've talked a bunch on the shows when we had Ray Handel on recently about the general strength of the dirt to turf angle. And then you mentioned Scotty McKeever before, and another tool that I always use in these situations when you're looking at a horse trying a surface for the first time is that GSR metric in there. And it's not like a big jump up, but it's not any kind of big drop either for your 4 Fast Draw Munnings. So that's what I'm going to take another look at. I had put the 2 Do It for Andrew on top. This horse has improved a lot since getting more ground to work with and going left-handed, also getting gelded. And on blood, this horse is meant to be a turf miler. Ribchester and Acceleration, both absolutely top-class milers. Trainer Phil D'Amato, terrific stats in all the relevant categories. I'm going to play 2-6 pretty equally. I will take another look at your 4 as well. We'll wrap up this sequence back up north at Golden Gate with their nightcap. We go down for the cheapies here. $4,000 claimers, 5.5 on the synthetic. How are we going to get paid, my friend?
Man, we hit the wall fast here, right? We're going from a couple nice stakes races on all the way down to the $4,000 level. These races can be awfully tough sometimes, but I'm just going to go with the most consistent horse here, and that happens to be the 2-horse Minoso out of the Jonathan Wong barn. You get Rahman up. Those 2 teamed up for a win on this horse last time, going that 5.5 furlong distance. And for a 5.5 furlong race, there is not an abundance of speed. And generally, I'm going to want horses that are a little bit more forwardly placed. So I'm closing out my press ticket. It'll probably be a $5 ticket here with the 2-horse as a single. But I am going to go 3 deep on my dollar ticket because I think there are a couple other interesting horses in here. The 4-horse returning to the Tamayo barn, I think, is awfully interesting. We've lost. If you go back to 2020, the horse was 3 for 11. Most of those wins came in the Tamayo barn. 2021, row for 5. Well, 4 of those 5 races came in the Storts barn. I think going back to this barn is going to be a big help. And then I'll take the 5-horse, who is the quote unquote class dropper, going from the $7,000 and $8,000 level all the way down to $4,000.
That's a big difference.
And you've got multiple races in the back class that are more than good enough to win for this horse. Now we got to run back to those, obviously, and we're not that good the last 2 times. But I'm a little enticed by that 9-2 price on the 5 and the 6-1 price on the 4, and I'll take the horse I think is in the best form on the 2, and hopefully one of the 3 of them can get us paid here to close this thing out.
I was with you on Minoso, not just because I'm such a huge fan of the Cuban Comet, Mr. White Sox himself, the long overdue Baseball Hall of Famer, Mini Minoso, but the horse just makes a ton of sense for all the reasons you said. It looks to be among the best speeds, has a little bit of finish. I think we'll have a tactical edge on the main market rival, who I was going to try to beat in the number 3, Regal Born. That horse beat Gentleman's Secret, a long shot here by just a length when they met before. I was going to go in a different direction. The backup I came up with was number 7, Ernest. I thought was a reasonable long shot who's shown a little bit of finish. And as I looked at this race a few times, I just felt myself coming back to him enough that I wanted to have on some tickets, enough tactical speed to sit a perfect trip. And I just felt like it was tough to trust a pure single in Minoso just because of the level we were dealing with. So there you have it. 2 for me with a little 7. You like the 2 best as well with the 4 and the 5 to close us out at Golden Gate. Before we let you get out of here, I want you to talk about some of the other stuff you've got going on, because I love the YouTube show you've been doing. That's great. And I want to give you a chance to talk about everything you got cooking.
Yeah, been pretty busy here, so you can get sick of me if you want to. If you follow me at Twitter, it's Samabam18. I'm a little bit all over the place. We got Monday and Thursdays. We do the Magic Mike show for RacingDudes.com. Mondays, generally, we're recapping the weekend, talking about kind of what we think out of the Kentucky Derby prep races that are going on, talk about some of the big stakes races, the Kentucky Derby future pools, things like that. Thursday, we cover a pick 4, pick 5 sequence over the weekend that we're excited about and want to talk about and give out tickets for that. And then once a week, right now, we've been doing Thursday nights. We did Thursday afternoon this week over on the Equinedge YouTube channel. My co-host Brady Klotz and I do something called Good Chalk, Bad Chalk, and we live handicap and stream races from 1 or 2 racetracks around the country, and really try to dive down and explain how do we get to horses. So it's a good way if you're especially new to Equinedge, you can look into that technology and check it out, and you can see how we're using it to try and get to long shots and trying to figure out if it is good chalk or bad chalk, because one of the keys is whether or not a favorite's going to win or not in these sequences, and how to structure your tickets. And that's what we'll talk about quite a bit on that show. And it's something we kind of went over here. We got 2 horses in the first and the last leg that are 9-5 and 2-1 morning line. Using both isn't a good idea. You got to pick a bullet there. And in each case, we were doing that, and hopefully we're right today.
All right, let's see if we can figure it out. I recommend folks check your stuff out, and we look forward to having you back on soon, my friend.
I appreciate it, Pete. Thanks for having me.
We also want to thank our friends at Adelphi Racing Club. We've been working with them for the past few months and are really impressed with what we're seeing. Adelphi is a racing club of like-minded people who enjoy racing and the camaraderie of being part of something bigger than themselves, a real community where you get access to other members of the team and trainers, jockey agents, other owners. It's really a lot of fun the way they're doing it. And they're also taking an interactive approach where you have an opportunity to learn what's going on in real time about the horses that you're a part of. And they're also going to be offering premium on-track and off-track hospitality experiences. You can get involved in the class of yearling prospects. You can get involved in this new claiming partnership they've launched as well. Lots of different ways to get in touch at AdelphiRacing.com. You can reach out directly to Matt, who you've heard on these airwaves, Matt at AdelphiRacing.com, or you can follow on social media on Instagram at Adelphi_racing or on Twitter at Adelphi Club. Next up on the show, very happy to welcome back a man who was a frequent guest in 2021, talking about the JRA races. His day job, as it were, is working for our friends at Woodbine. Very excited to be working with them again this year as well. To talk about the JRA and what we've got cooking this weekend, here is Klaus Ebner. Klaus, how are things, my man?
Yeah, PTF, I do.
Things are good. Excited to have you back in the Money Media fold. I know we've got new listeners since the last time we were on talking about this stuff. Why don't we start off by explaining how the JRA races work in the U.S., where you can find them, how the pools work, all that stuff.
Sure. So let's start off with the pools. So pools are hosted by us at Woodbine, and these are North American pools. So they are what's known as B pools. So everyone from North America is banging into the pools hosted by Woodbine. So it's going to have your standard, win, play, show, executor, try, super pick pools in there as well. So we do have an early and late pick 5, as well as a super high 5 in the feature race each day or each card from Japan. And as for Japan itself, this is racing from the JRA, so the best of the best racing, if you will, from Japan. Primarily turf racing throughout the year, but this weekend, for instance, we have the February Stakes, which is one of the 2 big grade 1s on the dirt in Japan. So we'll have 24 race dates. So we have this date in February. We'll have a date at the end of March, which is sort of the early sprinters going 6 furlongs on the turf. And then from there, we really get into the meat of it with the Triple Crown season, the 1,000, 2,000 guineas for both the fillies and then also for the colts. And then we can kind of, get into racing through to June, where we have the Taikazuka Keenan, which is kind of the older horse, mile and 3/8 big race for the end of the year. And then we kind of take a bit of hiatus until October, come back from October, and then we go straight through from October through to the Christmas time, if you will. So again, lots of action, 24 race dates throughout the year, and we certainly hope everyone can join us.
And the racing's never been better in Japan. The breed has really improved over there. We saw it at the Breeders' Cup, and I know a lot of listeners and viewers who had success backing those Japanese runners, having heard about them on the show throughout the course of the year, and making that circuit much more accessible to them. And another cool thing, and I assume you're up for doing this again. We're up for having you if you want to do it. Written content on inthemoneypodcast.com, including free past performances. Is that something we can look forward to again?
Yeah, 100%, Pete. So, the plan last year and this year is just obviously continue to have analysis as well as selections on the site, as well as free PPs. And these will be Australian-based PPs, a little bit more juicy or meaty, if you will, in regards to what they offer the player. So a lot of information in there for trainer stats, jockey stats, and a little bit of a write-up as well, consensus, if you will, for each horse. So. Again, we want to provide as much information as we can, and then we're also going to have selections from myself, Robert, and Candace again this year. So hopefully, it could be, again, a destination for players to have, some selections, some information for playing Japan each day we offer it.
Terrific. I look forward to checking it out and staying up late and getting the chance to play along, or sometimes putting in bets and going to bed and checking it out the next morning, whichever approach you want to choose. I want to talk to you quickly about these two big races we have this weekend. Let's start off on the undercard with the Hyacinth Stakes, where Kentucky Derby prep points will be awarded. First question, from this far out, does it sound like there are any horses who are being strategically pointed to the Kentucky Derby through the Hyacinth Stakes, or is it going to be more of a run the race, wait and see type of thing?
Yeah, that's how it kind of looks to me, at least right now. I haven't heard any sort of major rumblings that there are many horses that are going to be pointed to the Derby trail. I know there is one horse that I have sort of heard a little bit about, and that's a horse that's not in here, but it's a horse called Consigliere. So that horse there was a winner of the Catalea Stakes, which also is a prep for the on the road to the Derby, if you will, the Japan road to the Derby that they have. So that horse won that last time out, beating another horse you'll see in here today, which is the interesting name in the form of Geraldo or Geraldo, whatever you want to call him, Geraldo Burrows, who closed last time out, only lost by about a half length, if you will, or a little bit less than a half length in that event. So he's in here as well. He's by Sinister Minister out of an Arch Mare. So I don't see an issue with him getting a mile and eighth. It's only a mile on Saturday, Sunday, Japan. But I don't see this one having an issue with getting longer than that if really required. So to your point, Pete, yeah, there's not that many that I can see that scream, yeah, I want a mile and a quarter. There are a few in here that have that breeding, but a lot of the favorites in this race, unfortunately, to me, look more like stretch out sprinter types that probably want maybe up to a mile, maybe a little bit longer than a mile, but I don't see them really being a mile and a quarter horses that the usual likes we'll see. There are kind of on a side note, I know there are some that are being sent to the Saudi Derby, as well as some of the big events in Dubai. So if any of those show up on both respective days, whether it be in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, we probably see those ones as opposed to any of the horses here in the Hyacinth Stakes.
Gotcha. Well, that makes perfect sense, but you never know, and we'll definitely pay attention to the news coverage coming out of the race and see if any runners might be being pointed to come over here after that. And that's a great note about Saudi. We'll have to make sure to get you or someone from your team as part of our coverage, giving comments on the Japanese runners that appear there as well. The big race on Saturday into Sunday is the February Stakes. I want to hear if you have an idea of who you might be betting from this far out.
So this race is really about, in my opinion, what have you done for me lately? The favorites, in my opinion, all have a lot of holes in them. And then, in terms of horses, for the most part, you have horses that are, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. So quite an interesting mix of horses in here. You do have the sweetheart of Japan. So Dashi's back again. So she is running on Saturday. I unfortunately for Sadashi, I think a lot of her, luster and shine is starting to wear off. She still has that sort of mystique about, being the bright white unicorn. But
unicorn, parents' favorite Japanese racehorse.
Yes. And again, she has a huge fan base, not only here in North America, but obviously also in Japan. And Pete, I am still trying to get you and some other people a Sadashi plushie. So It's still on the radar, and
nobody tell Perrin this, because if she hears that might happen, it's all I'll hear about. So please don't mention that.
Okay, it'll be on the DL, so don't worry. But anyway, speaking of Sadashiy, she lost badly in her first attempt in December last year. That was her first attempt on the dirt. I think she finished 12th that day. She is her own worst enemy. On her day, on her best effort, she beats this field, but she just seems to have a very strong issue with just being so headstrong, right, and unable to settle in races. So, for all those Sadashiy fans, including Robert Reed, who's a huge fan as well, those are part of the fan club. I hope she does well on Saturday, but she's one that just I'm happy she's in there because she'll take a lot of money, and again, I just see a lot of holes.
You're such a cynic. You're such a cynic, Klaus.
I know. Guilty as charged. In terms of the other favorites in here, you have Red Lizelle, who was a sharp closing fourth in this event last year, and they actually, for those who don't remember, he actually went from here to Dubai and ran a very solid second in the Grade 1 Dubai Golden Shaheen. So there may be some horses that run in this race that you may see in Dubai. So just, again, some things to note. And that's coming off of a win in the Grade 1 Japan Breeders' Cup Sprint. One who I just think as well, this may be a little bit too long for him. He will be closing late. Just again, I'm not sure and convinced him as a mile horse. And then you have the winner from last year, Cafe Faro, who was really a model of inconsistency. Won this event last year and then just went sour after that. Failed miserably last three starts. So they've gone for a few changes here, a bit of a freshening, and a new jockey in the form of Yuichi Fukunaga. So he replaces Christophe Lemaire, who those who may not know is pretty much the top jockey in Japan. So we'll see what he can do. But yet another favorite who I'm willing to take a shot against. And I've gone for two horses here that may be middle to longer prices in the form of TM South Dan. TM South Dan won the Grade 3 Nagishi Stakes in his last start at 7 furlongs, also at Tokyo Racecourse. There are some questions in terms of who was beating in his last win, as well as in his last three starts. Did get a horrible draw in here, that being 15 to 16, but he's kind of versatile, can work out trips, and I think again, if he can work out a trip, has a shot in here at somewhat of a better price. And another in here who sort of has a similar form line of Marsh Lorraine, and not towards her run up to the Breeders' Cup, but just sort of that same sort of form line coming into this race is a horse called Teorima. So Teorima picks up Christophe Lemaire. She is 1-for-1 at Tokyo and was winner of the Grade 1 Japan Breeders' Cup Ladies Classic 2-back, and also a listed win last time out in the at Ohi racetrack. So she has been again competing on the lower NAR circuit, but I do think she has a shot in here, just because, again, a lot of the favorites have chinks in their armor. Nothing's really sure. So, again, I think those two are two I'll be looking at to upset the apple cart, if you want.
A fascinating betting race. I can just tell from the way you describe it and all the attendant question marks. For much more information, check out inthemoneypodcast.com on Saturday. What time does your info typically drop on there, Klaus? Remind me.
Yeah, so we usually try to have the selections up roughly, 3 to 4 hours before the first race. So first race on Saturday goes at 8 p.m., I believe. So we'll try to have it up at around 4 or 5 o'clock, and then free PPs will go on there as soon as we have the selections as well. So just allowing some players some time to handicap the races and get ready to go.
Check it out late in the day Eastern, earlier Pacific, and stay up late with the team and wager on these JRA races. Klaus, you'll be back very soon to talk with us about it again, but glad to kick off the season with you and keep us posted on any special promo plans or anything you have. That was a lot of fun, the contest last year for the plushie, one of which still sits right next to me here in the Brooklyn Bunker. I didn't realize you could see my gym towel on the chair right next to it. That was bad set dressing by me. We'll call that a host fail. Klaus, great having you.
Thanks very much, Pete.
That's going to do it for this edition of the show. We'd like to thank today's guests, Mike Somich, Tyler Frausto, Naomi Tucker, and Matt Bernier. Great having them on. I do want to remind folks about a big weekend we've got going with In the Money Plus. We're going to have Frank McGoey marking your card for Fairgrounds on Saturday. Sunday, we've got the free preview with JK. Saturday, JK will also be doing his thing. He's going to be providing 5 different analyses a month, pretty much, for Plus subscribers. Actually, 4 for Plus subscribers. 1 will be free. Just another reason to sign up. You also get little digests of the picks, other exciting, interesting, exclusive content around racing's biggest days. If you want to learn more, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus, or just sign up to our free newsletter. That'll give you a little taste and a chance to follow all the content we're putting out. That's inthemoneypodcast.com/email. Really helps us out when you subscribe to that free newsletter, when you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, when you rate and review. All that stuff helps people find the show. We really appreciate it. We're going to thank our founding partners, 10 Strike Racing. You know around here how we love to root for the purple and black. Also, the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. We have a few of those gift bottles left. If you make donations of a certain amount, go ahead and get yourself one of them. It's going to be cold for a bit longer up here in the Northeast. Whiskey eases the pain, folks. trfinc.org/players is the link to check that out. Most of all, though, I want to thank all of you, the listeners, for making these shows so much fun to do, or the viewers, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, another place you can rate, review, subscribe, leave a comment, and all that fun stuff. This show has been a production of In the Money Media. We'll thank producer Craig, pushing all the right buttons as usual. Drew Coatney is our business manager. Jonathan Kinchin is our chief creative officer. Thanks to all that lot. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos.